fifth graders. Welcome back. This week we are reading lesson 2 about the War of 1812. First of all, I want to say thank you for those of you who completed your work last week. I know some of you it was confusing with Ed Puzzle, but a lot of you logged in and did your Padlet question. And a lot of you had the same response of that was crazy that they ate candles to survive, and I agree. Lots of things to learn about Lewis and Clark and Sacagawea. And then also the essential question, a lot of you got that completed. So great job. Make sure that anytime there's an assignment, you mark it as complete in Google Classroom, or else Google Classroom is going to keep emailing you and reminding you. Okay, so even if there's nothing that you turn in Classroom, such as the Padlet or Ed Puzzle, just make sure you mark it as complete. All right, second thing, this lesson will end up being 2 videos. So you're going to watch this one, and then there will be a second one, and then you'll do the quiz is. It's very similar to Quizlet, but it's just a different platform. All right, so getting started today, we're going to be looking at the War of 1812. Now, yesterday you were supposed to read this lesson in your book. I hope you did that. If not, do make sure you go back and take the time to read. Again, just like last week, I'm not going to go through and read the whole lesson, but I'm just going to talk about some things. So on this page, I'm going to talk about these 2 vocabulary words. First, we have neutral. And neutral, we've talked about this before in class, just means that you're not taking sides. And so France and Great Britain, they all wanted control of trade, and the United States didn't really want to pick a side. And so they tried to stay neutral and continue trading with both. And as you can imagine, that didn't really make Great Britain happy, and it didn't really make France happy either. And one thing that Great Britain did to kind of retaliate was this practice called impressment, where they would capture American ships that were trying to trade, and they would capture the sailors, and they were forced to work on their ships. And you can see here at the bottom left, just a picture of impressment, what that might have looked like. And then also you can hit pause if you want to read this again, kind of what it might have looked like when the British ships were capturing American soldiers. All right, so during this time, there were some men in Congress who were getting really frustrated with Great Britain, and they wanted Congress to declare war. Now, we talked about this in Unit 6. Congress is the only one who can declare war. Remember, a president cannot, but the president must sign off to confirm that war will take place. And so these men were called war hawks, and eventually Congress did sign, or they did declare war, and President James Madison signed the declaration. And it upset some people, and especially in New England, and they actually started calling this Mr. Madison's War just because they were frustrated with the president for signing off on the war. All right, so in your books at the beginning of lesson 7, some of you might have read this, but on page 245, there was an article about Dolly Madison and what she did to help save some documents in the White House. Great Britain had, they went in to Washington, D.C., and they pretty much destroyed the entire city, including the White House. And so the First Lady, she was able to save a lot of things, which we can thank her for that. Now, even though this is called the War of 1812, it actually lasted much longer than that. But one thing we're going to come back to next week, we'll come back to it actually tomorrow in social studies, and then next week in art and music class, you're going to do a little bit with the national anthem. And so we're going to talk about Francis Scott Key, why he wrote this, and how it became our national anthem tomorrow when we talk about citizenship. All right, so the next page is talking about how the war ends. Now, the war ended with a treaty. A lot of times that's how wars end. There's a treaty because both sides just want to stop because they are losing money. And so the Treaty of Ghent